They're all ready to go. And there it is. Absolutely awesome. Looks incredible. Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 10 versus 10 on urban front lines, and I'm going to be playing with the 4th Polish Mechanized Division. NORTHAG finally here. It brings 2 new campaigns, 4 operations, 10 new divisions, and I'm totally here for it. It's gonna be epic to play through all of these divisions. I've been having so much fun with it so far, and this is a game that was pretty awesome and really exploits one of the new units that the Polish have, which is the T-55s with mine clearers. So I've got 6 of these T-55 ASs and 2 of the T-55 AMS Meridas. All 8 of those tanks have mine clearing launchers. So what they can do is fire them at 1,750 meter range, and they cause like a nice big HE explosion that's great at taking out infantry. And in a town like this, or a city I should say, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage. I also decided to bring up a couple of the special forces, the ROSP Specjalny, and then we have a couple of these Hypnerit. Hopefully I'm getting that right. Regardless, 23mm AA with Strela 2Ms on a truck, and these special forces, they are advanced deployed with special forces trait and shock trait, but most of all they have this RPG 7VL, which is an 18 AP RPG, which is really nice to have at the start of the game, because one thing that the Polish definitely struggle with is infantry AT weapons. Now I wanted to make sure that I didn't get hit by this TOW 2 down the road at the start here, so making sure to pull off that doesn't hit the mark, because the big problem with using these kinds of mine clearing units is they need to be very close. Like 1,750 meter range is not very far at all. You're always going to be within HDGM range, and so really kind of risky. But yeah, in an urban environment like this, you can hide them behind buildings and fire them as much as you want. Now we've got a very target rich environment here that we're going to try and hit with my T-55s. Now I was put onto this strategy by Woodenbox. I saw him use it against me and I decided to try it myself. But here we go, the mine clearers are away. Goodbye Airborne Dragon, goodbye Fallschirmjäger. Jäger Aufkada also having a bad time of it. Thinking they're getting away. Spoiler, they're not. And the last one, I cancelled its fire because there's no more targets there in the high rises to shoot at. So falling back now, bringing in the supply. You can see I've got a couple of Kras already on the way. I didn't buy these at the start, I just bought them on my first tick so that I had them ready to resupply and reload those mine clearing units. Because that's one thing that you do have to do with these units, is they are quite micro intensive. You require sort of to reload them every time you use them, and you don't want to keep them in the same location because then they'll get hit by artillery and such, because these sorts of units are quite high priority for people to take out. So yeah, anyway, the Kras is going to arrive, resupply all of those mine clearers, and it's 200 supply cost per tank, so we will get through the supply relatively quickly. And meanwhile elsewhere, you can see that the city has erupted into flames as artillery falls and all of the front line engages. Big patch of napalm there. I absolutely adore this map on 10v10 because it is just absolute chaos. Because especially considering it's relatively concentrated around the urban environment. So you got this like front line just here where most players will fight, and then you'll have like maybe 1 or 2 players on the edge of the map that are trying to like secure Gregory and Ivan in this case, but the rest are just kind of pushing into the center. So getting the T-55s back into position here, you can see like sporadic targets of like the airborne engineers, so I'm just going to be firing 1 at each basically. And I've got them ready to go, and I've put them all on return fire so that I can fire them at the same time. They're all ready to go. And there it is. Absolutely awesome. Looks incredible when it lands. Any infantry that gets caught in that is just annihilated. You can see the explosions of all of those mine-clearing weapons on the ground there. Now I'm just going to be falling them back again in order to resupply them. Airborne leader getting caught out in the high-rise will go down to the main guns as well. So that was pretty nice. I do have to be extremely wary of like cluster coming in. So that's why I'm sort of spreading them out while I'm trying to resupply them. Because I don't want all of them to die all in one go to just one single cluster. That would not be ideal. Anyway, regardless, this is going to be my strategy for the majority of the game, putting these mine clearers on target and cleaning out the urban environment, which will then eventually open up for a potential push, because it's always going to be kind of sticky getting through this environment. And I don't yet have the infantry to hold the positions that I clear, so now I'm going to be bringing that in. The Scott 2As on their way, with the standard Scott 2s, with the Sapperger, and the Piechota. Here they come. Like, this is a very stereotypical Polish APC. Really, really cool to see the Scots finally in the game. It just reminds me of the use of them in Wargamer Dragon. It's just great to see the Polish finally in the game. Really, really interesting units that they bring as well. Especially these mine-clearing T-55s that we're using plenty of today. And the absolutely huge damage we've been dealing with them. Now I figured instead of doing like big barrages like that where we fire them all at once, although it is very cool to do, using them individually to just take out like any unit of infantry that you see tends to work out a lot better. So in this case, going for the engineers there, going for the LAV. Unfortunately the LAV moved and the airborne engineers were already on the run as well, so I didn't manage to take them out. My T-55 here taking a cheeky shot as it goes into cover. That's just moving behind the buildings here so that we can launch it towards that 50 cal. This one's going to be looking for that engineer kill. And yep, those engineers are very dead. Panzergrens, Pioneers, harassing my teammates, so I want to get rid of those. 50 cal, also potentially a problem, so going to be hitting that. Now bear in mind these don't do really any damage against armor. Because their sort of shot is so spread out, sometimes they don't even one-shot the infantry, as you can see, so they're definitely not going to be doing much damage to armor. This T-55 though, going to be taking a bit of a hit. I'm just going to be chipping down the Marder 1A3 there as we continue to drive backwards and forwards now from the supply in order to get these shots on target. And when my infantry arrives, which it now has, all these Piechota, they will be able to take the positions that we have cleared with these mine clearers. We should start calling them man clearers rather than mine clearers, because it's exactly what they're used for in WARNO. And there goes the infantry. Really, really like the Polish engineers. The Polish engineers are fantastic because they have both like a close range infantry weapon, like in this case the Satchel, and they also have the RPG-76 Komar, which isn't a very good AT weapon, but it does allow you to take care of units like, say, this Humvee or like the Marder 1A3, and just deal a decent amount of damage to those and prevent them from like harassing your engineers that usually don't or can't defend themselves. So, nice to have. Okay, more of that infantry arriving. Not pushing forwards the Scots just yet. Like, the Scots in this environment are going to get killed by infantry AT very easily, so I'm not moving them forwards and wasting them. I'm keeping them around so that they can provide fire support once we see targets. So, if we see like an infantry squad here, then I can like maybe move up a Scot to start engaging that at max range with the Dushka. That's basically my thought, although at the moment I'm really focusing on the micro of the T-55s with the AS, or the system here, the PW system. So engineers there, for example, I could bring up maybe a Scot or two into sort of this position, and then they would be able to get the machine gun on target to help with that. In this case, my Piechota with the double PKM SVD are actually doing a ton of damage onto this infantry at range. We are, of course, outnumbering them, but even if there was like 3 squads of airborne engineers in this position, they only have 1 machine gun, so we'd be completely outdoing them firepower-wise. And the mine clearer coming through. Not quite hitting the mark, but I have managed to push my BMP into the middle here and kept it on the corner to start capping that. Conehead also brought in his infantry. Unfortunately, those Piechota hit by the F4 there, but the F4 at least gets shot down. I did bring up a couple of these OSA AKMs in order to shoot down enemy aircraft, so those are pretty crucial in our air defense of the city. Kraz is now moving back. I did bring in a supply point at the start, so I've been cycling the Kraz backwards and forwards to make sure that we make the most of that. Also now the OSA is moving forwards to try and take out the Apache, and we do manage to get that kill. That's very nice. Also trying to take down the Kiowa, and that's gone too. Perfect. So we've managed to push through now. You can see all the craters from where the mine clearers have been firing, and the Piechota have managed to get through there thanks to those. So that's worked out really, really nicely for us. Now we've got a sort of small second line to deal with, and you can see that I'm giving them a fire position order that they're going to complete, and then they'll move back to the supply immediately. I'm just holding shift in order to do that. So hopefully take out the air engineers, take out the sniper, even if it tried to fall back. So hit those engineers nicely, and hopefully hit the sniper there as well. And now you can see the Scots moving up to provide that fire support that I was talking about. So yeah, instead of wasting them, getting them too close, and then them getting killed off, I'm able to like discover enemy infantry using my own infantry, and then have the Scots come in to provide fire support. Now the Aero Tow 2, potentially a problem, but seemed to run out of ammo, so my Scots are quite happy to clean that up. But I've got to be careful of the Marder 1A3 Milans on the right hand side that can fire in there. These T-55 falling back while the other ones move forwards. I'm just kind of cycling them forwards and backwards. The trouble is, in the time it takes for me to cycle backwards and forwards here, they are able to get more reinforcements into position, which is a problem with this map, which is why it becomes so chaotic, because honestly, for a 10v10, the reinforcing road is actually pretty close to the front line, so it does not take very long to reinforce the troops that you lost. And in WARNO, the income is always relatively quite high. Of course, it's a bit lower in 10v10, but it's enough to get a couple of infantry squads up into position into this heavy cover and stop you from really making any significant ground. So I brought up some more of this AA, the twin 23 mils with the Strela on the back of the truck there. Those are basically sitting in position waiting for enemy helicopters, which could be a problem. But at the moment we're having a little bit of a shortage of infantry, so I'm just trying to use the T-55s to continue to soften the enemy airborne and engineers and such, whilst I wait for reinforcements. Unfortunately, losing a T-55 kind of sucks there, but we still got 5, so I think we're good to go. The battle continues as the MLRS continues firing into the city there. Look how awesome that looks in the distance. There's not many games where you can look at a city from back here and then move all the way to that city and see all of the destruction and fighting amongst it. That's one reason I just absolutely adore WARNO. But yeah, more airborne coming in on Taurus was putting up a good fight here. Even with my mine clearing shenanigans, he was still able to hold the line Of course, we did manage to take the middle sector here, which was putting us at a conquest advantage for a little while. And our team had managed to basically fully control this right sector for a lot of time. But at least he's managing to stop us from pushing all the way through to Dimitri, even though Boris would probably be the better place to contest, as it is actually worth more than Dimitri. So once again, airborne there, they're trying to run away. Ontoro's probably trying to get them back to supply in order to resupply them, but I'm not allowing it to happen. Oh, T-55 at least does have smoke. Nice thing about the Merida is it does get those smoke launchers, whereas the standard T-55, you'll notice on the T-55 AS here, they don't have smoke launchers. So you've got to be really extra careful with those, because at least these ones can kind of fall back. Over on the left here, bit of a forward landing by these helicopters. Gives a good target for these 23 mils. Really cool to hear them firing away. Unfortunately, didn't manage to shoot down that many of them before they landed. So far, so good by the team, and really, really handy of ND to bring in a lot of big supply. Oh, that was awesome. Absolutely awesome, as all those missiles flying overhead with the helicopters here that have landed and resupplied them. That's so cool. You'll notice that when I zoom out, they get a little bit bigger. That's because I have unit scaling on. The main reason that I use unit scaling is so that I can see the facing of my tanks, but it also gives you guys a better view of the units. But if things ever look a little bit out of scale, that would be the explanation. Is that the napalm launcher? I think it is. Napalm launcher, the second napalm launcher joining us in the game. And it's always been an absolute menace. Now the 9th Panzer gets one as well. So Fox is going to be the one who's making good use of that. But here come my T-55s. Now what I was doing in this case is I was giving them a fast move order to here on purpose, so that I could then just turn them and give them an attack move towards where I wanted them to go, and they'd already be spread out. But unfortunately I did it a little bit too late, so I had to manually spread them. Now you can manually spread them by holding right click and dragging, and it will create a sort of wall formation if you drag the whole way. Yeah, the Merida is now arriving. Nice thing about the T-55 Merida as well is it does have 2,275 meter range with 60% accuracy. The big thing you got to worry about with the T-55 is it only has 14 AP, so that's not ideal for engaging something like a Leopard at max range, because you're not going to be really doing that much damage. But still, with the numbers that I have, I'm confident to push forwards here, and the T-55 ASs have been doing a good job of clearing the enemy infantry. So I'm hoping to get pretty far here as we start engaging the Leopard 1A5s. But the T-55AM Merida gone down on the left. We do at least manage to start getting some good hits on the T-55s there. And one problem we will have is that if there's like TOW 2s here, they're going to absolutely melt my armor. And any side shots from Dragons are also going to be a problem too. Now we're taking a lot of damage with the AH-1F rockets getting on target, the HGMs coming in on our flanks. So I'm going to have to retreat some of these units, but taking the opportunity to move up the Piechota and get them into position, whilst the mine clearers target any positions where we're seeing those HGMs come from. It's just I've got to be wary that they don't hit the mark on the T-55 ASs themselves. Like, I'm relatively happy to lose my Meridas, even though they are actually a reasonable price. Like 130 points is still pretty pricey. But if I can get the AS on target to take out the TOW 2 here, take out the Dragon, then that would be great. We're starting to make another renewed push through the left side of the city here. So there goes the mine clearer. And that's what they're really, really good for doing. Just clearing out units like that when you're trying to make a push. Now, admittedly, a little bit late on the pull. When my T-55s were pushing up, the T-55 ASs should have already been with them, so that as soon as we saw HGMs be fired from a building, we were already targeting them with the mine clearers, because this is something that I was talking about when we were going through the overview for this deck, where these mine clearers are super important to assist your mainline tanks, because there's going to be lots of situations where you can't necessarily deal with the infantry with your tanks because of line of sight issues or whatever. So the T-55 AS really helps you in those situations, and it's kind of just like having pocket artillery that can clean out a unit that is potentially a problem. But anyway, the BMP is now rolling in with our reinforcements, the Mech SVD. Another really nice squad, double PKM SVD, let down a little bit by the RPG-7VM, but otherwise solid against enemy infantry. And these BMPs are going to be launching their Malyutkas to engage these Humvee tows back here. Well, the Humvee tows are pretty expensive, so I mean, if I can take them out with a 25-point BMP, that's really, really nice for us. They're trying to move these ones across to also get their Malyutkas on target while the Mech continue to push forwards. The Scots are also moving up now to provide fire support onto any infantry that's in my way. I've got a couple of these exceptional optics vehicles on the way as well to make sure that I can see infantry that's firing at me. I've got the OSA in position to try and shoot down these AH-1Fs, but unfortunately the OSA does take a nasty hit there. Mine clearers still going to be firing away. So we're just making a really big push here. See how far we can get. All the Scots going to be able to help engage as we push across the train tracks. Absolutely huge push. Trying to make a lot of ground. Unfortunately for me, 2 M1 IPs and 2 Leopard 2A3s arrive, and these are going to chew up basically all of the units that I can offer. T-55 AM Merida not going to last. All of the Scots are dead very quickly. The BMP-1s will get absolutely ripped by those, and that's going to leave my poor infantry pretty unsupported, and so eventually my push here is going to come to a close. Now, I'm hoping at least I can get a couple of kills with the Su-22 M4 Seria. These have KH-29 missiles that are fire and forget. Do manage to take out one of those tanks, but unfortunately both of them are going to get shot down, so not quite worth it. I had a nice forward position on the left for a little while, but the last of the infantry is going to get killed off on the push there. And all goes quiet for just a moment as that aircraft crashes from overhead. That's what remains of my push here with my Polish forces. Trying to get some damage now onto the M1 IP. So this is where I was kind of like testing the capability of the T-55s against a heavy tank. And you can see that 3 of them there is not really doing the job. And bear in mind, these cost like 200 supply each to resupply. That's already 600 supply, and we've only done 4 damage to an M1 IP, so definitely not worth it supply-wise. Right, now I've got the Strela coming in to support us against enemy helicopters again. And we're just continuing to try and hold the line now as my RM-70s fire away. Really like the new model of the RMs for the Polish. The fact they have their like ready reload on the back It's really, really cool. So that's firing away, hoping to get some good damage onto the enemy tanks here. Make the Leopard 2A3s. Hopefully clean those up a little bit. See if we can continue this like relentless push that I've had going. But I'm down to 4 T55 ASs, and we still have both of the T55 AMS Melida. That one's still trying to kill off the M1 IP here. Unfortunately not quite getting the job done. Butto's getting the Metis on target will help take out that Leopard 2A3, and the Pichota here able to help finish off one of the Leopard 2A3s there. So things going okay for us. I mean, in terms of the team though, enemy's currently on a +1 as they are contesting Elena, whilst we haven't got a cap on Boris just yet. Also, we did lose our cap on Gregory briefly, as there has been a pretty nice engagement going on over here the entire time. We enjoy Wormconehead and Reforger. So the city slowly but surely getting completely destroyed. Aircraft continue to fly overhead as the buildings start to turn to rubble. And the problem that you start to have in these situations is like this area, for example, becomes very low cover. So infantry trying to move through here and push through here is going to have a real hard time. And my rocket artillery coming in there, absolutely smashing some of these units to pieces. We managed to take out both of their mine clearing vehicles, so they're not going to be able to use them against us. They're in here somewhere. There we go. There's one of them. But now back up to a +5 as we secure the right, capture the left. T-55 still coming back to my supply, which I have been cycling still the whole game back to the FOB. See, my FOB's down to 10,000. We actually have quite a lot left. Now I've got the rocket artillery, and we can probably get through that pretty quickly. But a nice rocket artillery strike coming in now onto the French. The AMX-30s trying to make a push, but all bunched up. And unfortunately, rocket artillery, apparently the name of the game. Rocket artillery after this new DLC is incredibly prevalent, and the main way that you counter it is just by being spread out, making sure that you're wasting that supply. Nice strike coming in here. Rocket strike going for the mortar. Syria using up one of its missiles for that as well. Only 30 seconds left on the clock as we now push to the +6 briefly. Well, now a minute left. Just continue to survey the damage here as more rocket artillery flies in. That's going to be some cluster coming up, most likely to try and take advantage of my T-55s, but I'm moving them as soon as they fire so they can't be counter-batteried like that. But that is the worry that you have to have. SU-22 almost getting away with that. But I've got a grad. It's going to be hopefully firing on this soon, but unfortunately saved by the bell, as that is victory for our team after 29 minutes and 7 seconds. And what a fun game it was. I mean, my KD is not fantastic, obviously, throwing away all of those T-55AM Meridas and the Pichota, poor chaps, but it was fun. 4,940 kills, 4,040 losses for myself in the end. And yeah, the T-55's AS is really a lot of my kills in this game, especially taking out like a TOW 2 team is just really, really nice for these. It's good value because the TOW 2 teams themselves are pretty expensive. My OSAs did a lot of work shooting down enemy helicopters and also taking down a few aircraft. You saw all of the AA flying over the top of that city. It was incredible. And then at the end there, the rocket artillery getting a few kills here and there. But the T-55 air Melidas are really nowhere to be seen on this kill list because they just didn't really do much. Yeah, unfortunately kind of outclassed by the T-2A5s or 2E3s, sorry, and the M1APs in the end. And my push just got completely broken down at the end there. So I just ended up going defensive and started to invest in that rocket artillery. But yeah, really, really fun stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Really nice first look at the 4th mechanized in play. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.